We often hear that success is the goal, that once we achieve that milestone, get the promotion, earn the degree, hit that revenue target, then we've made it. But that's not how it works. Success isn't a fixed point on a map. It's not a place we arrive at and suddenly feel complete, because the moment we think we've reached it, the finish line moves. Another challenge arises, another ambition takes its place. It's like climbing a mountain, only to realize there's another peak ahead, and another, and another. The truth is, success isn't about reaching a destination. It's about how we grow along the way. It's about the person we become through the struggles, the lessons, the setbacks, and the victories. And the same applies to emotional strength and stability. It's not something we achieve once and keep forever. It's something we cultivate, refine, and strengthen over time. So today, let's talk about what it truly means to go beyond reactions, to cultivate emotional resilience, not just for a moment, but as a way of being. Think about the last time something caught you off guard. An unexpected email, a harsh comment, a sudden change in plans. How did you respond? Did you take a moment to process, or did you react instantly? Most of us don't even realize how much of our daily behavior is driven by automatic reactions. Someone criticizes our work, we get defensive. A project doesn't go as planned, we panic. A colleague ignores our message, we assume the worst. And before we know it, we've handed over control of our emotions to external circumstances. But here's the truth. Reaction is impulse, response is intention. The science behind reaction. Reactions happen in the most primitive part of our brain, the amygdala. This is where our fight or flight response lives. It's what kept our ancestors alive in the wild when faced with immediate threats. A rustling in the bushes? Run. A shadow moving in the distance? Hide. But today, we aren't dodging saber-toothed tigers. We're dealing with emails, deadlines, difficult conversations, and moments of frustration. Yet, our brain still treats them as threats, and when we let the amygdala take control, we react emotionally instead of logically. We send an angry text we regret 5 minutes later. We say something in a meeting that we wish we could take back. We let a single moment of frustration ruin our entire day. Reactions are fast, instinctual, and often destructive. But responses? Responses come from a higher place, a place of awareness, choice, and control. Why the pause matters between stimulus and action. There's always a space, a tiny gap, a moment where we get to decide what happens next. That space, that's where our power lives. Imagine getting a frustrating email from a client. A reactive person fires back instantly, short, snappy, defensive. They hit send, and the damage is done. Now the client is upset, trust is broken, and the situation has escalated. A responsive person does something different. They take a breath, they step back, they resist the urge to type the first thing that comes to mind. Instead, they ask themselves, what's the bigger picture here? How do I want to handle this? What outcome am I actually trying to create? And then they respond, not with emotion, but with clarity. They choose words that de-escalate instead of inflame. They keep the conversation productive instead of reactive. And as a result, they control the situation rather than letting the situation control them. Small reactions, big consequences. It's easy to dismiss reactions as minor. A moment of frustration, a snap decision, a few careless words. How much harm can they really do? But emotional reactivity is like compound interest. It builds over time. One heated argument turns into a strained relationship. One moment of frustration turns into a bad habit. One unfiltered response turns into a reputation. Think about the leaders, mentors, or colleagues you respect most. Are they the ones who lose their cool at every obstacle? Or are they the ones who stay composed, thoughtful, and measured? The strongest people aren't those who react the fastest. They're the ones who respond the wisest. Reactivity directly responds in leadership and relationships. This principle applies everywhere. In leadership, reactive bosses create chaotic workplaces. They change plans on a whim, lash out under stress, and make decisions based on emotions instead of strategy. Their teams live in constant uncertainty, never knowing what mood they'll walk into. Responsive leaders, on the other hand, create stability. They listen before speaking. They process before acting. They inspire trust because people know their emotions won't dictate their leadership. The same applies to personal relationships. Reactive people escalate arguments. They take things personally. They let one bad moment dictate an entire interaction. But responsive people, they pause. They seek to understand before they respond. They bring thoughtfulness into the conversation, which keeps connections strong instead of strained. Training yourself to respond instead of react. This isn't about suppressing emotions. It's not about pretending we don't feel frustration, disappointment, or anger. It's about learning how to process those emotions before they dictate our behavior. So, how do we make this shift? How do we go from reacting impulsively to responding intentionally? Practice the pause. The next time you feel yourself reacting, whether it's an email, a conversation, or an unexpected problem, stop. Take a deep breath, count to 5, give yourself the space to think before you act. Ask the right questions. Instead of reacting on instinct, ask, what is this situation really about? What response would serve me best in the long run? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? Reframe the situation. Not everything requires an emotional response. Sometimes what feels personal isn't personal at all. Maybe that rude email wasn't about you, it was about their own stress. Maybe that friend's short response wasn't anger, it was exhaustion. Choosing a better perspective leads to a better response. Train emotional agility. The more we practice self-awareness, the stronger our emotional resilience becomes. Meditation, journaling, or even simple reflection at the end of each day can help us recognize patterns in our reactions and adjust accordingly. Surround yourself with stability. Emotions are contagious. If we spend time with highly reactive people, we become more reactive. If we surround ourselves with people who think before they speak, pause before they act, and respond with wisdom, we begin to do the same. Why? Response wins every time. Reaction is immediate. Response is intentional. Reaction is emotion-driven. Response is thought-driven. Response is about what happens to us. Response is about what we choose to do with it. The difference between the two determines everything. How we lead, how we communicate, how we grow, and ultimately the kind of person we become. Two people can go through the exact same experience and walk away with completely different takeaways. One sees failure, the other sees a lesson. One sees rejection, the other sees redirection. One sees chaos, the other sees opportunity. Why? Because our experiences don't shape us. Our perspective does. The way we choose to see the world influences everything. Our emotions, our decisions, our resilience. Perspective isn't just about what happens to us, it's about what we make of what happens to us. The lens we look through, imagine wearing a pair of tinted glasses. If they're red, everything you see has a red hue. If they're blue, the world looks blue. The glasses don't change reality. Perspective works the same way. We all wear different lenses shaped by our beliefs, experiences, and emotions. But here's the key. We can choose which lenses we wear. A person with a scarcity mindset sees every challenge as a threat. A person with a growth mindset sees every challenge as an opportunity. A person stuck in self-doubt sees every critique as proof they're not good enough. A person with confidence sees critique as a chance to improve. Nothing actually changed in the world, only the way it was perceived. And that perception determines how we feel, how we react, and what we do next. How perspective shapes our emotional stability. Imagine two people stuck in traffic. One is furious, honking, cursing, checking their watch every 5 seconds. The other is calm, listening to music, using the time to think, even appreciating the extra minutes of stillness before a hectic day. Same traffic, same delay. Two completely different experiences. What's the difference? Perspective. The first person sees the situation as an obstacle, something happening to them. The second sees it as something neutral, an event that they can control, but can choose how to experience. Emotional stability isn't about avoiding difficult situations. It's about how we frame those situations. It's about realizing that while we may not control what happens, we always control how we see it and how we respond to it. Reframing setbacks, the key to resilience. One of the most powerful shifts in perspective is understanding that setbacks aren't signs to stop. They're part of the process. Think about every great success story. Every innovator, every leader, every entrepreneur has faced failure. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers. If they had seen those setbacks as proof that they weren't good enough, their stories would have ended there. But they didn't. They reframed those moments. They saw them as steps, not stop signs. That's the power of perspective, the ability to turn "I failed" into "I learned," to turn "this is the end" into "this is the beginning of something new," to see obstacles not as barriers but as stepping stones. The perspective shift that changes everything. One of the biggest mindset shifts we can make is moving from a victim mindset to an ownership mindset. A victim mindset says, "Why is this happening to me?" An ownership mindset says, "What can I learn from this?" A victim mindset says, "I have no control." An ownership mindset says, "I always control my perspective and my response." This shift doesn't mean ignoring hardships. It doesn't mean pretending challenges aren't difficult. It means choosing to see them differently. Choosing to find meaning, growth, and opportunity, even in the struggle. Because when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Why two people can experience the same moment differently. Picture two employees in a company going through a major restructuring. Both find out their roles are changing. One sees it as a crisis, fearful, angry, resisting the change. The other sees it as an opportunity, excited for new challenges, eager to grow. What's different? The situation is the same. The outcome might be the same, but their experience of it, completely different. Our perspective doesn't just shape how we feel, it shapes our reality. Because when we expect the worst, we tend to find it. When we assume people are against us, we interpret everything as an attack. When we believe we're stuck, we stop looking for solutions. But the opposite is also true. When we expect opportunities, we find them. When we assume people mean well, we interpret their words differently. When we believe growth is possible, we find ways to make it happen. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about shaping the reality we experience. The role of perspective in leadership and decision-making. Great leaders don't just have more experience or intelligence, they have better perspective. When faced with a crisis, an ineffective leader panics. They see chaos, problems, and failure. But a strong leader steps back and looks at the bigger picture. They ask, what's the real challenge here? What opportunities exist within this crisis? What's the best way forward instead of the fastest way out? Perspective is what separates reactive leadership from intentional leadership. The ability to zoom out, to reframe, to look beyond the immediate problem. That's what allows great leaders to navigate uncertainty with confidence. Training ourselves to shift perspective. If perspective shapes everything, our emotions, our stability, our success, then how do we train ourselves to shift it when needed? Ask better questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can this teach me? Instead of asking, what's wrong with this situation? Ask, what's possible in this situation? Zoom out. Often we get stuck in the moment, but when we take a step back, what feels overwhelming right now often looks smaller in the bigger picture. Seek multiple viewpoints. The more perspectives we expose ourselves to, the better we become at shifting our own. Talk to mentors, read diverse opinions, challenge your own assumptions. Reframe problems as challenges. The words we use matter. Saying, I have a problem feels heavy. Saying, I have a challenge feels empowering. The situation is the same. The framing changes how we experience it. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift perspective. When we focus on what we do have instead of what we lack, our mindset transforms. Perspective is a choice. At the end of the day, perspective isn't about denying reality. It's about choosing how we interact with it. It's about understanding that the same moment, the same challenge, the same setback can be seen in 100 different ways, and that how we choose to see it determines everything that comes next. Life doesn't get easier. Challenges don't stop coming. The world doesn't slow down to accommodate our comfort. If anything, as we grow, the obstacles we face grow with us. But here's the thing. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about building the capacity to handle them. Mental resilience isn't about being unaffected by hardship. It's about developing the strength to move through it, to adapt, to grow, and to come out stronger on the other side. The most resilient people aren't the ones who have never struggled. They're the ones who have been knocked down and learned how to get back up, again and again. The difference between fragility and resilience: imagine two trees in a storm. One is brittle, stiff, and unyielding. When the winds come, it resists, fights against the force, and eventually snaps. The other is flexible, rooted but adaptable. It bends with the wind, absorbs the impact, and after the storm, it stands tall. That's the difference between fragility and resilience. A fragile mindset breaks under pressure. It sees failure as final. It resists discomfort. It avoids challenges because it fears setbacks. A resilient mindset bends, adapts, and finds strength in struggle. It understands that setbacks are not stop signs, but stepping stones. It embraces discomfort as part of growth. The question isn't whether we will face adversity, the question is how prepared we are to handle it. The science of resilience, how our brain adapts to struggle. Resilience isn't just a mindset, it's something we can train. Our brain is wired for adaptation, a concept known as neuroplasticity, the ability of our brain to reorganize itself, form new connections, and strengthen pathways based on experience. Think about weight training. The first time you lift a heavy weight, it feels impossible. Your muscles shake, your strength is limited. But over time, as you continue to train, your muscles grow stronger. What was once impossible becomes routine. The same principle applies to mental resilience. The more we face challenges and push through them, the stronger our ability to handle stress, uncertainty, and adversity becomes. Why some people break and others bounce back when two people experience the same failure? Why does one spiral into self-doubt while the other finds a way forward? Why does one person crumble under pressure while another thrives? The answer lies in how they interpret the experience. A fragile mindset sees failure as proof that they are not good enough. A resilient mindset sees failure as proof that they are learning. A fragile mindset sees rejection as a personal attack. A resilient mindset sees rejection as redirection towards something better. A fragile mindset avoids challenges to prevent failure. A resilient mindset seeks challenges to develop strength. How resilience is built. The 4 pillars. Resilience isn't something we're born with. It's something we develop through intentional action. And it's built on 4 key pillars. 1. Emotional regulation, mastering your inner world. Emotional strength doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It means learning to manage them effectively. Resilient people don't let emotions dictate their actions. They recognize emotions, process them, and choose a response instead of reacting impulsively. How to train this? Practice the pause. When faced with stress, take a deep breath before reacting. Reframe emotions. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, say, I have a lot on my plate, and I'll handle it one step at a time. Lean into discomfort. Instead of avoiding difficult emotions, ask, what is this teaching me? 2. Cognitive flexibility. Adapting to change, life rarely goes according to plan. Resilient people don't break when things don't go their way. They pivot, adjust, and move forward. How to train this? Challenge negative thought. When your mind says, I can't handle this, ask, what if I can? See setbacks as detours, not dead ends. When something doesn't work out, look for alternative solutions instead of dwelling on what went wrong. Expose yourself to new experiences. The more adaptable we become in small ways, meeting new people, stepping outside our comfort zone, the easier it is to handle big changes. 3. Strong sense of purpose, knowing your why. People with a strong purpose don't crumble under stress because they know what they're working toward. They have a reason to keep going even when things get tough. How to train this? Define your values. What truly matters to you? What are you willing to endure hardship for? Create a vision for your life. When obstacles arise, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Surround yourself with purposeful people. Being around others who have strong whys reinforces your own. 4. Support systems. The power of connection. Resilience isn't built in isolation. The strongest people have strong support systems, mentors, friends, communities that help them navigate challenges. How to train this? Seek relationships that challenge and uplift you. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth. Ask for help when needed. Resilience isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to lean on others. Be a source of strength for others. Supporting others in their struggles strengthens your own resilience. The role of struggle in building strength. If we never experience discomfort, we never build resilience. Growth comes from challenge, not ease. Think about how diamonds are formed under immense pressure. How muscles grow by being torn and rebuilt stronger. How great leaders are shaped, not through perfect circumstances, but through navigating adversity. Struggle is the weight room for resilience. Every hardship, every setback, every difficult moment is an opportunity to grow stronger if we choose to engage with it instead of resist it. The question isn't whether we will face challenges, it's whether we will use them to build resilience or allow them to break us. Because resilience isn't just about surviving hardship, it's about using hardship as fuel for growth. Life will test you. It will throw unexpected challenges, difficult people, and moments of deep uncertainty your way. And no matter how much we try to plan, prepare, or control our surroundings, there will always be things beyond our control. But here's what is in our control: how we respond. Mental resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It's about developing the strength to navigate through it. It's the ability to bend without breaking, to face adversity with clarity, and to keep moving forward despite the setbacks. Some people crumble under pressure, while others rise. Some let failure define them, while others use it as fuel. The difference isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's resilience. And the good news? Resilience is something we can build. Why some people break and others bounce back. Think of two people who experience the same failure. One falls into self-doubt, replaying the moment over and over, believing they're not good enough. The other takes the hit, learns from it, and moves forward with even greater determination. What makes the difference? It's not the situation. It's how they process the situation. A fragile mindset sees failure as final. A resilient mindset sees failure as feedback. A fragile mindset avoids discomfort to prevent stress. A resilient mindset embraces discomfort to build strength. A fragile mindset says, I can't handle this. A resilient mindset says, this is tough, but I'll figure it out. Mental resilience isn't about being emotionless. It's not about suppressing fear, frustration, or disappointment. It's about recognizing those emotions, processing them, and choosing to keep moving forward anyway. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you train, the stronger you become. If you went to the gym for the first time today and tried to lift the heaviest weight, you'd probably fail. Your muscles wouldn't be strong enough yet. But if you trained consistently, each week getting a little stronger, eventually you'd lift that weight with ease. Resilience works the same way. We never face challenges. We never build the mental muscles required to handle adversity. Small challenges prepare us for bigger ones. Every difficult moment is an opportunity to grow stronger. The first time you fail at something, it stings. But over time, you learn that failure isn't the end, it's a teacher. The first time you face rejection, it hurts. But over time, you realize that rejection isn't personal, it's redirection. The first time you deal with a difficult situation, it feels overwhelming. But over time, you develop the ability to stay calm under pressure. The more we engage with challenges, the more capable we become. Resilience isn't just about surviving hardship, it's about thriving because of it. The 4 pillars of mental resilience. 1. Emotional mastery, controlling how you react. Your emotions are real. Stress, frustration, fear, they all have their place. But if we let emotions dictate our actions, we lose control. Resilient people don't let emotions drive their decisions. They learn how to process emotions in a healthy way. How to train this: pause before reacting. When faced with stress, take a breath before responding. Reframe emotions. Instead of saying, this is too much, say, this is challenging, but I can handle it. Focus on what you can control. Instead of worrying about what's outside your control, focus on the next best step you can take. 2, adaptability, becoming comfortable with change. Life is unpredictable. The more adaptable you are, the easier it is to handle unexpected challenges. Resilient people don't resist change. They adjust and keep moving. How to train this? Look for solutions instead of problems. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I do about this? Expose yourself to discomfort, try new things, change routines. The more adaptable you are in small ways, the stronger you become in big ways. Embrace uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, train yourself to see it as an opportunity for growth. 3, strong sense of purpose. Knowing your why. People with a strong sense of purpose are more resilient because they have a reason to keep going, even when things get tough. How to train this? Define your core values, what truly matters to you, what keeps you going even when things get hard. Set meaningful goals when setbacks happen. Remind yourself of the bigger picture. Surround yourself with purpose-driven people. The people around you influence your mindset. Choose wisely. 4. Strong support systems, leaning on the right people. Resilience isn't about handling everything alone. Even the strongest people have mentors, friends, and communities that help them stay grounded. How to train this? Seek out people who challenge and uplift you. Surround yourself with those who encourage growth. Ask for help when needed. Resilient people know when to lean on others. Be a source of support for others. Helping others through challenges strengthens your own resilience. The role of struggle in building resilience. The most resilient people aren't the ones who have had easy lives. They're the ones who have faced struggles, failures, and hardships and kept going. A diamond is formed under extreme pressure. Muscles grow stronger by being broken down and rebuilt. Trees with deep roots can withstand the strongest storms. Struggle is not a sign of weakness. It's the weight room for resilience. Every hardship, every setback, every challenge is an opportunity to develop strength if we choose to see it that way. Training yourself to become more resilient. If resilience is a skill, how do we actively train it? Shift your perspective. Instead of seeing difficulties as roadblocks, see them as training. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Strengthen your mindset. When negative thoughts creep in, challenge them. Replace, I can handle this, with I am capable of figuring this out. Take small steps forward. Even in tough situations, focus on the next small step you can take. Progress builds momentum. Develop self-discipline. Resilient people don't wait for motivation. They take action even when it's hard. Practice gratitude. Even in the toughest moments, there is something to be grateful for. Gratitude shifts focus from what's wrong to what's possible. The power of resilience in every area of life. In business, resilience is the difference between quitting after a failed idea and pushing through to find success. In resilience is what keeps us working through challenges instead of walking away. In health, resilience is what keeps us committed to growth despite setbacks. In leadership, resilience is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. Resilience is not just about surviving hardship. It's about learning, growing, and coming out stronger on the other side. There will be moments in life when everything feels overwhelming, when setbacks shake our confidence, when uncertainty clouds our vision, when challenges pile up and test our limits. In those moments, some people crumble under the pressure while others stand firm. What makes the difference? Purpose. Purpose is what keeps us grounded when emotions run high. It's the anchor that holds us steady in life's storms. It gives us the emotional strength to push through challenges, to stay resilient in the face of adversity, and to keep moving forward even when things get difficult. When we lack purpose, we drift. We react to life instead of intentionally shaping it. We let external circumstances dictate our emotions. But when we have a clear sense of purpose, we operate from a place of strength rather than instability. Purpose is not just a motivational phrase or an abstract idea. It is one of the most powerful drivers of emotional resilience, stability, and strength. Why emotional strength fades without purpose? Imagine waking up every morning without a clear reason for what you're doing. There's no deeper meaning behind your actions, no real connection to what drives you. Every challenge feels like an unnecessary burden. Every obstacle feels like another reason to quit. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up every day with a clear sense of why your work, your relationships, and your growth matter. Challenges don't feel like roadblocks, they feel like necessary steps towards something bigger. Setbacks don't feel like failures, they feel like lessons. Purpose transforms how we experience life. Without it, emotions control us. With it, emotions fuel us. Without purpose, setbacks feel discouraging. With purpose, they feel like necessary lessons. Without purpose, stress feels overwhelming. With purpose, stress feels like a sign that we're growing. Without purpose, criticism feels personal. With purpose, criticism feels like a tool for improvement. The science behind purpose and emotional strength. Purpose isn't just a feel-good concept, it has a direct impact on our mental and emotional well-being. Studies in psychology and neuroscience show that people with a strong sense of purpose experience lower stress levels. Purpose helps us frame challenges in a way that reduces emotional distress, greater emotional regulation. When we have a clear why, we don't react impulsively, we respond intentionally, increase resilience. Purpose gives us the emotional endurance to keep going, even in the face of adversity. Higher overall life satisfaction. People with purpose report feeling more fulfilled even when facing difficulties. When we know why we are doing something, we are less likely to be swayed by temporary emotional fluctuations. We can endure discomfort because we understand that the discomfort serves a larger mission. How purpose shapes our emotional responses. 1. Purpose turns pain into progress. Pain is inevitable. Disappointment, rejection, loss, these are all part of the human experience, but purpose determines how we interpret that pain. Without purpose, pain feels meaningless. It feels like suffering for no reason. But with purpose, pain becomes part of a larger process. It becomes something we can learn from, something that shapes us into stronger individuals. Athletes push their bodies through intense pain because they have a clear purpose to compete, to improve, to achieve greatness. Entrepreneurs endure failure after failure because they believe in their vision. Parents sacrifice for their children because they have a purpose greater than themselves. Purpose transforms pain from something we want to escape into something we are willing to endure. 2. Purpose creates stability in uncertain times. Life is unpredictable. We will all face moments of uncertainty, whether in our careers, relationships, health, or personal growth. The difference between those who spiral into fear and those who remain steady is purpose. Purpose acts as a stabilizing force. When everything around us feels chaotic, it gives us something solid to hold on to. It reminds us that even in the unknown, we are still moving in the right direction. Think about a ship in rough waters. A ship without a clear destination will drift aimlessly, getting tossed by every wave. But a ship with a defined course stays on track, adjusting as needed, but never losing its direction. Our emotions work the same way. Without purpose, we are at the mercy of every emotional wave. With purpose, we stay steady. 3. Purpose reduces the power of fear. Fear thrives in the absence of purpose. When we don't know what we stand for, fear can paralyze us. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But when we have a strong purpose, fear loses its grip. A purpose-driven person doesn't fear failure because they see it as part of their journey. A purpose-driven person doesn't fear discomfort because they know growth requires it. A purpose-driven person doesn't fear setbacks because they are focused on the bigger picture. Fear may still be present, but it no longer dictates our decisions. Instead, purpose gives us the courage to act despite fear. 4. Purpose fuels emotional endurance. Imagine 2 people climbing the same steep mountain. One has no idea why they are climbing. It just seemed like something to do. The other has a deep personal reason for reaching the top. Who is more likely to push through when exhaustion sets in? The person with a purpose. When we have a clear reason for doing something, we develop emotional endurance. We don't give up at the first sign of struggle. We don't let temporary emotions dictate long-term decisions. We keep going because we know the destination is worth it. This is true in every area of life. Business, relationships, personal growth. Purpose sustains us through difficulty. It gives us the strength to persevere when things get tough. How to discover and strengthen your purpose. If purpose is the foundation of emotional strength, how do we cultivate it? Reflect on your core values. What truly matters to you? What principles do you want to live by? Identify what gives you energy. What activities make you feel alive, engaged, and fulfilled? Seek challenges that align with your strengths. Growth happens when we push ourselves in meaningful ways, Surround yourself with purpose-driven people. The people around us influence our mindset. Choose people who inspire and challenge you. Turn pain into purpose. Many of the strongest purposes come from overcoming adversity. What struggles have shaped you? How can they be used to help others? Keep your purpose visible. Write it down. Revisit it often. When emotions run high, remind yourself why you started. Purpose is not something we find once. It's something we continually refine and reconnect with. The deep connection between purpose and emotional strength. Purpose gives us the strength to endure hardship. Purpose gives us the clarity to navigate uncertainty. Purpose gives us the resilience to keep moving forward. Purpose gives us the emotional stability to respond with intention instead of reaction. Without purpose, emotions control us. With purpose, we control our emotions. Because when we know why we are doing something, we can handle any challenge that comes our way. If you've ever seen a plant struggling to grow, you don't blame the plant. You check the environment. You ask, is it getting enough sunlight? Is the soil rich in nutrients? Does it have enough water? Human beings are no different. We do not grow in isolation. We grow in environments that either nurture us or stunt us. Our mindset, emotional resilience, and overall well-being are deeply influenced by the spaces we exist in, our relationships, workplaces, communities, and even the thoughts we surround ourselves with. Some environments elevate us. They challenge us, encourage emotional strength, and give us the space to grow. Others drain us, suppress our potential, and keep us trapped in patterns of negativity, insecurity, or self-doubt. If we want to cultivate emotional growth, we must be intentional about the environments we create and the ones we allow ourselves to remain in. Why environment matters more than we think. It's easy to believe that emotional growth is purely a personal journey, that it's all about mindset, discipline, and willpower. And while those things are important, our environment either amplifies or hinders our growth. A toxic environment breeds self-doubt, stress, and emotional instability. A growth-oriented environment fosters resilience, confidence, and emotional intelligence. No matter how strong you are, if you exist in a space that constantly drains you, limits you, or fills your mind with negativity, it will be incredibly difficult to grow emotionally. On the other hand, when you place yourself in environments that challenge and support you, growth becomes natural. A person who is surrounded by pessimism will slowly start to see the world through a negative lens. A person who is surrounded by encouragement will develop a sense of self-belief. We are wired for influence. The people we spend time with, the conversations we engage in, the habits of those around us, all of it shapes us, whether we realize it or not. The three key elements of an emotionally nurturing environment. If we want to cultivate emotional growth, we must be intentional about our surroundings. A growth-oriented environment has three key elements. 1, psychological safety, the freedom to express without fear. Emotional growth requires vulnerability. It requires being able to express ourselves honestly, our fears, our struggles, our aspirations, without fear of judgment or rejection. But if we exist in environments where mistakes are punished, emotions are dismissed, or self-expression is met with ridicule, we learn to suppress. We learn to hide parts of ourselves to fit in or avoid conflict. Over time, this leads to emotional stagnation. A healthy environment fosters psychological safety, the assurance that we can express our thoughts and emotions without fear of being shamed, criticized, or dismissed. In a toxic environment, people hide their struggles out of fear. In a growth-oriented environment, people feel safe to share and seek support. Whether at home, at work, or in relationships, psychological safety is the foundation of emotional growth. 2, growth-oriented people, the power of influence. We are the sum of the people we spend the most time with. Their habits, their mindsets, their emotional responses, they all rub off on us in ways we don't always notice. If we want to cultivate emotional strength, we must surround ourselves with people who challenge us to be better, not people who keep us stuck. Are the people around you pushing you toward growth or pulling you into negativity? Are they encouraging you to be emotionally strong or reinforcing self-doubt? Do they inspire you to think bigger or do they make you feel small? Being around people who are emotionally intelligent, resilient, and purpose-driven naturally encourages us to grow in the same way. The right people set a higher standard for how we handle challenges, relationships, and setbacks. 3. Challenge and discomfort. The conditions for true growth comfort does not create growth. If an environment is too easy, too predictable, or too free of challenges, it does not foster emotional strength. It creates complacency. Think of physical exercise. Muscles grow only when they experience resistance. Without stress, there is no strength. The same applies to emotional growth. A growth-oriented environment is not one that eliminates hardship. It is one that provides the right level of challenge and support to help us grow. And too much comfort, we stagnate. Too much stress, we burn out. The right balance of challenge and encouragement, we thrive. A strong environment does not shield us from difficulty, it equips us to handle it. How to cultivate an environment that fosters emotional growth. If we want to grow emotionally, we must actively shape the environments we engage in. That means being mindful of the people we surround ourselves with, the conversations we participate in, and the spaces we allow to influence us. 1. Audit your surroundings. Take a close look at the environments you exist in. Your workplace, your social circles, your home life. Ask yourself, do these spaces encourage or discourage emotional growth? Do I feel free to express myself, or do I constantly suppress my emotions? Do the people around me lift me up or pull me down? Sometimes we don't realize how much our environment is affecting us until we step back and assess it honestly. 2. Seek out growth-oriented people. If we want to become emotionally strong, we must spend time with people who embody that strength. Find mentors or peers who inspire growth. Engage in conversations that challenge your thinking. Distance yourself from chronic negativity. We do not have to completely cut people out of our lives, but we must be intentional about who we allow to have the greatest influence over us. 3. Create spaces for honest conversations. Emotional growth happens when we are able to have real, vulnerable, and meaningful conversations about our fears, our struggles, and our aspirations. Encourage open dialogue in your relationships. Be willing to share your own emotional journey. Foster environments where people feel safe to be honest. The more we create space for authenticity, the more emotional strength we cultivate. 4. Challenge yourself regularly. Growth does not happen in comfort. If we want to develop emotional resilience, we must seek out challenges that push us beyond our current limits. Step into situations that make you slightly uncomfortable. Take on responsibilities that challenge your emotional endurance. Learn to embrace uncertainty instead of fearing it. A strong environment is not one that eliminates hardship. It is one that teaches us to navigate it with confidence. 5. Set higher standards for the energy you accept. Not all environments deserve our presence. If a space is toxic, draining, or emotionally limiting, we must have the courage to walk away. Protect your mental space. Be selective about the conversations you engage in. Choose relationships and environments that align with your growth. We do not always have control over every environment we are in, but we always have control over how much we allow it to shape us. The impact of an emotionally nurturing environment. When we cultivate the right environment, emotional growth becomes a natural process rather than a constant struggle. We develop the strength to handle setbacks without falling apart. We gain the clarity to make decisions based on wisdom, not fear. We build the emotional endurance to keep moving forward even when things get tough. We do not grow by force. We grow by creating the conditions that make growth inevitable. Emotional growth does not happen by accident. It happens by design. Just as a seed cannot thrive in barren soil, we cannot develop emotional strength in an environment that stifles our growth. The spaces we exist in, the people we surround ourselves with, and the challenges we embrace all play a critical role in shaping our resilience, stability, and emotional well-being. If we want to cultivate emotional strength, we must be intentional. We must create and seek out environments that challenge us, support us, and push us to become better versions of ourselves. We must surround ourselves with people who encourage growth rather than hinder it. We must embrace discomfort as a necessary ingredient for progress, and above all, we must set a higher standard for the energy we allow into our lives. Growth is not about eliminating hardship. It's about equipping ourselves to navigate it with clarity and confidence. It's about building a foundation so strong that no matter what life throws our way, we remain grounded, focused, and emotionally resilient. Because at the end of the day, the environments we choose don't just influence us, they define us.